All right, well, thank you very much indeed for joining us for this. MBaer Bank, the bank with the soul. What does that mean?
It means many things. First of all, it means we love our business. We love banking. And we just like to help clients with their daily problems. And we do that the way we used to learn it in the earlier days, which is ethically correct.
You think it's less ethical nowadays?
I think banking has changed a lot the last 20 years. It's become more mechanical. I think clients typically have been pushed around more than they should have, and there's a lot less individual attention. So not everything was better earlier, but some things I do believe were better. And I think banking in 20, 30 years ago was definitely better. And so we're going to recreate
You're bringing it back.
We're bringing it back, yes, with style.
And you specifically focus on SMEs, is that right?
It doesn't have to be SMEs. We love to work with entrepreneurs. And we like to work not just with the person, but also with the business and the family of the entrepreneur. So we can always try and help the business grow. And as you might know, I mean, if you're an entrepreneur, the business directly impacts your life. And if you're under pressure in business, you're under pressure personally. So if you can help solve some problems and help your business do better or help your family do better, we can help you. It doesn't always have to be a banking solution.
So it's about innovation?
It's highly innovative. Banking is innovative. If you're in some larger bank, it might seem more like a factory, but actually the business of banking is a very innovative business, because you have to see what the person does, what they go through every day, the problems they have to solve. And it's not always about money, it's about people, it's about relationships, and it's about having creative ideas how to make something better.
So you see yourself as a problem solver then?
Absolutely, yes.
And does that extend to issues when it comes to Russian oligarchs, for example? That's been in the news a lot recently. Do you hope to find innovative solutions there too?
Yeah, I mean, large entrepreneurs have many companies and typically have many problems. And if we can lend a hand to solve any of the issues they have, of course, always within all the laws that we are subject to, sometimes we can help, sometimes we cannot. But we can always talk and see if there's something we can do that others cannot do.
How tricky is it to set up a bank in Switzerland? I mean, are we overbanked already?
Well, that's kind of two questions, and we probably don't have enough time for the first question. Setting up a new bank was also a very innovative process. It took about 2.5 years to get a license. It's highly regulated and actually really difficult. I mean, getting a new banking license is not something that happens frequently. Yeah. So it really took a lot of time and effort. So
why do it yourself? Why couldn't you kind of foster this as part of Julius Baer, for example?
Well, the alternative, of course, is going out and say you buy a bank. And there's plenty of banks for sale. But a lot of banks have the traditional issues that you read. They have poor IT systems or poor management, or their assets are not really what we would hope to have. So when you set up a new bank, you have no legacy. You can really focus on business, right? We don't have meetings how to get rid of people, how to get rid of clients, how to redo our compliance. We all set it up fresh. So we're really, really focused on growing the business rather than on solving our own problems.
I mean, so this, I suppose, is your relationship with fintech. I mean, you can bring on some of the new innovative ideas from Swiss fintechs or global fintechs to help your bank? What is your relationship like with fintech?
Fintech is a double-edged sword. I mean, fintech is a relatively wide definition. So one side would be the technology. We have some technology that is digital, but a bank by definition is relatively inefficient. I mean, our software that we rent is like every other Swiss banking software. It's multilingual, multi-jurisdiction, multi-currency, right? We have to be able to produce tax statements in different languages for different jurisdictions, for different people with different domiciles. It's really, really complex, and it's not digital. So there are certain processes that we have digitalized, like you can onboard a client. You can have certain processes that you take out of the older system and run it parallel. But at the end of the day, you're sitting on a relatively old banking platform.
Even as a new bank?
Yes. Yeah, because we cannot afford to build our own banking platform, so we outsource as much as we can. Again, for a new bank, the pleasure is finding your best outsourcing partners. So we rent our PCs and our screens, our phones. We rent the whole banking platform. The back office is outsourced. So again, we want to concentrate on our business of banking, and whatever is not strictly relationship management or corporate finance, M&A, trade finance, we outsource. So
how do you see the future of Swiss banking going forward? I mean, we talk about us and them when it comes to fintech. You know, you've got especially in retail banking, you've got these new neobanks coming along, challenger banks coming along. You've got a lot of wealth management tech that's coming along that is working with traditional wealth managers. Then you have new banks like yourselves, and you're telling me that it's very difficult to be digital. So how do you see all of these different facets working together in the future?
I mean, neobanks are great, and it's a great example. If you take someone in Germany, typically younger, who has an account with a neobank, you give him 100 euros as a gift, he will look at you and say, well, can you transfer it, please? Because there's no place I can actually deposit my money. So you go back to old style banking, right? So you actually have to input a payment and transfer money, which means you need a SWIFT. And you go back to old style. So
you don't ever think that these two will become one?
At the moment, the way it's run, not, because neobanks rely on market share and basically giving out free stuff. And our bank, or most other banks, we have our expenses and someone has to pay for them. So you take a neobank, highly efficient, typically single currency, single jurisdiction. So it's relatively easy to set up within a jurisdiction, and you can be highly efficient with high volume. But it has no interface into the older system. So like I said, you want to buy equities, you need a loan, you want a mortgage, you have a business, you need some support, you need cash flow. You go into all the other topics and you'll see that the neobank just covers a tiny slice of banking. And so we can offer to some clients using a neobank because it might be better than one of our processes, which is perfectly fine. But as a bank itself, if you want a bit more, I think it's just a standalone unit.
So going forward, where do you see Swiss banking? I mean, it's had a history that isn't always very shiny, but there's a lot of opportunity out there. Green finance, crypto. Where do you see Switzerland really shining?
I think you have to again take two subjects. One is Switzerland, and I am extremely bullish and hopeful about Switzerland. The business case Switzerland, I think it's actually getting stronger and stronger with every crisis we have. I think Switzerland is smartly governed. I think as you know, we have a direct democracy with smart people voting for the right issues. I don't think you could say the same for many other countries. So I think Switzerland has an extremely good set of laws that are forward-looking. There's no laws going backwards, so you have a safety of your environment legally. So to do business here is fantastic. So that's Switzerland. Now Swiss banking is the second part. And I believe we have extremely well-educated people here. When you go talk to someone in a back office, they understand in great depth what they're doing in different languages, in different currencies. You talk corporate actions from wherever they come from. It's highly complex. And you know someone is there and they know what they're doing, and they're doing it in the interest of the bank and the client. And you just cannot find that elsewhere.
So Switzerland will always be a banking hub?
I believe it will absolutely be a banking hub.
How does crypto fit into traditional banking then?
It doesn't really. Again, it's a similar topic. Crypto is highly efficient. I mean, I was one of the very early investors in Bitcoin, which was fantastic. But at the time, with Bitcoin, you could use it to go shopping. There was a credit card attached. It was actually like a payment system. And it's changed now. It's become more a medium of, well, storage of wealth, maybe some speculation. Mm-hmm. And it has distanced itself a little bit from the traditional idea, I guess, and from banking.
But it certainly sparked a lot of conversation about digital currencies.
Yes.
I mean, where do you see Switzerland going with that? Do you think that we'll have a digital currency in the future?
I think it's possible, but I think the decision maker is not Parliament. I think it's the National Bank. Mm-hmm. And it has to be the national banks, generally, who allow for parallel currencies. So I think our government is really exemplary by promoting digital currencies. I think we have an extremely avant-garde stream of thought in government. But I think, unfortunately, at the end of the day, it's not their call.
But I mean, the Swiss National Bank is looking into it, along with the Bank of International Settlements, for example. They've got this innovation hub where they're testing things out, seeing how things go. If it happens, how will it impact banking? I mean, will it make a difference to you?
I think it'll make banking more interesting. Because, I mean, today transferring money is a relatively complex set of instructions through different systems. If you couldn't do it digital, it will get faster and better and more secure also for the bank. But again, I mean, the Swiss National Bank is the tiniest of players. The Fed would probably dictate what happens. And then the other large players, if Switzerland or Israel, who's working on it, also has its own digital currency, it might work, it might be fun, but actually for the flow of money globally, I think the impact will not be that big.
Let's just wrap things up, because I should ask you about coronavirus. It's been something that we've lived through for months here in Switzerland and around the world. We've seen huge changes in how people have banked because of coronavirus, a lot more interest in digital banking and a lot less reliance on branch banking, I guess. I mean, that was inevitable. But what do you think the lasting impact of coronavirus will be?
I think the biggest impact of the virus is actually with the younger people. I mean, it's really, for most of them, it's their first crisis. Okay, I have grey hair and some battle scars from the years in business. We've seen countless crises, different types. For many in their 20s, maybe early 30s, it's the first time they seriously have to think about their career. Will I have a job? What will it pay? How will it pay rent? How is this going to pan out? Will I be impacted? Do I have to move? I mean, existential questions that the youth so far didn't have to ask themselves.
And will this change their banking habits?
I think the youth does already have different banking habits. They're much more electronic, but they will still need, if they had a business and they needed support, they also had to go to the bank and get a loan. Still there.
So it's
right?
still there. It still comes back to the.
You cannot call your Neobank and ask for a business loan and get it in 20 minutes.
Can you do that with a traditional bank in 20 minutes?
The program we have in Switzerland was to get emergency
Oh, for
funding.
emergency, yes.
You got it in 20 minutes, yes.
Sorry, I thought you meant starting a new company and asking
No,
for a
starting
loan.
a new company is a bit more complex.
Yeah,
that doesn't
I'm sure
work.
it is. And just you mentioned your battle scars. How does coronavirus compare with your other battle scars?
Well, I guess it wouldn't be a crisis and you wouldn't have scars if you'd seen it before. It's obviously different than anything we've ever seen. I mean, it's not a financial crisis, or not yet. Maybe that is to come. It's obviously much bigger. And the impact is much bigger. Socially, people do home office. There's less social interaction. Some young people I know, they love home office. They have no problem working 10 hours in front of a screen without seeing a person. Maybe I'm the wrong generation. Doesn't work for me. Maybe in the long term doesn't work for them either. So there are different issues to be solved, I think, going forward. I have no idea how it ends. As we know, looking at everything that has happened, also this will pass, and the world will be different after, for sure.
Michael Baer, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.